This girl right here is Laura Stewart, VP of REC Canada. Both
Welcome,
Seamless and I. Welcome. Yes,
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
We're going to be discussing today what happens in the 10-day due diligence period after you sign a contract and an agreement of purchase and sale. What happens? What's the process? What should you be expecting? And from an REC Canada perspective, there's no one better at it. One of the most patient people we know. Been with us now for
at least with our clients, not with you two knuckleheads.
Yeah, it's hard to be patient with Seamless and Jazz. I get that. You've been with us for how long now? 8 years? 9 years?
Well, maybe coming up on 8.
Why don't you just quickly talk about your journey as we allow a little bit more people to come on, and then we're going to jump into it. How did you start with us? What happened? Talk about that journey for a bit.
Oh my gosh. So I was doing my MBA at Schulich, and for some reason during that process, my husband's in real estate, and he kind of thought, I actually think you'd be a great real estate agent. People hear that all the time, but I guess I was kind of like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. Let me see what that's like. Got my real estate license while I was in school, and I was actually, this is a funny story. I used my interview with Jazz as a test interview because I didn't actually want to work here. This was my let me mess up on Jazz and let me go find these other places that I actually wanted to work.
It was Jazz that interviewed, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I got sold by Jazz. I mean, everyone knows when you get Jazz in front of you, you're very compelling.
Thank you.
Here
Thank you
I am.
very much.
I can't seem to get out from underneath this now.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're in between us right now.
Let me go.
So you had visions of being what we call a regular real estate agent helping buyers and sellers.
Yeah, that's how I started on the team. As Simos was talking about, we have 50 agents on our team who work their own book of business, and they farm neighborhoods or have specializations. And so that I wanted to work my area that I live in. I actually live 5 minutes away from this office. So that was one of the reasons I also wanted to thought about working here. And, I liked what you guys, it was very interesting how you guys set the team up, which I haven't seen much of. Most teams that you see, it's a celebrity agent where the team is named after that person. So the Simeon Pop-Alias team. And this was actually, a team where it was the REC team. And I could call it my team, and I could speak about all of our deals. And I could talk about, I have an agent on my team that does X, Y, Z. And so that to me felt very collaborative and something I'd never heard of. And I just automatically flocked to that because I wanted to work with people. I think real estate can be very lonely at times. And what I love about this team is sometimes it's too overcrowded, actually, our team, right? It's the complete opposite. So that's kind of what happened. But then I went to an investor event with you guys, and I just saw, some what was happening. Investors are so interesting because they have so much education, right?
Even the ones that don't need it and want it.
They want it, and they're asking for it, and they want opportunity, and you never feel like you're bothering them. And the idea of being multi-transactional and helping somebody who has 0 properties and helping them build over the course of a number of years to 10 properties, I just thought was so neat, to be friends with these people for so long. They become like family to you. 100%. And so then I was like, no, I don't want to do my book of business. I want to be in the room talking with your clients because you guys have the best clients.
Isn't it funny though? Sorry, Jess.
Go ahead, buddy. Go.
Isn't it funny though? Because you brought a point up, and in your journey, you saw investors and you liked them. The thing about investors is somebody who is risk adverse enough or risk aggressive enough. Both of them have their own mentality, but both people share one thing. Once they know and succeed, it is the only type of person who wants to share and help another person do it again. It's not like any other type of people.
Yeah, I guess because people know there's more than enough to go around.
But they want to share, they want to mentor and help. So you have the same people going to the meetups for 20 years, and although the newbies always come and go, the originals are always there because the successful ones have a need to give back.
Yeah, so true.
So it's not like a pretend. It's not. I'm not speaking to anyone. There's nobody you're promoting, but I'm saying as a community, investors are different. They're a different breed. Real estate investors specifically, I'm speaking of. Because crypto and things, you always try to get sold penny stocks. But in real estate, it's a community of sharing. And I think that is addictive.
Yeah.
Because I still feel the exact same way.
It's the best drug in the world.
So,
right?
And we get to help people. We get to give them the drugs.
Yeah, right. It's awesome. I love that. So if you're just joining us today and right now, we're going to jump into a conversation about what happens when you actually sign an agreement of purchase and sale for a new build, specifically in Ontario. So 2 weeks ago, we got very loud, and maybe some messages I got that I was a little obnoxious about it, but we only do that 6 to 8 times a year on these brunches where we were speaking about a new condo project in Mississauga, and we had 20 people that went into contract, okay? They actually chose a unit. They sat down with me virtually, and we spoke about which unit. Someone on our team, Luke, Tyler, Simos, somebody was speaking to one of our insiders. Yeah. They picked a unit. They picked their purchase price. They knew their purchase price, parking, locker. We went through the pro forma with them. We actually went through every single detail about what's going to happen in the next 10 days. To let them know. But then again, there were still some people who just got scared. So if you possibly were one of those people, or you don't know what actually happens, this is going to be the time that you actually want to take some notes. Now, at any time, you can reach out to us, send that email. Hey, I want to speak directly to Laura about the process, so I'm prepared. This is why there's this sign above the head, right? It says ready, fire, aim. We want you to be prepared the next time we launch something. Well, that's just
it. Because there's only 10 days.
Yes.
Once you sign for the agreement, there's only 10 days. If you don't have the answers to those questions up front and you're going in blind, you're going to feel overwhelmed. And generally, scrambling. And I just hate that for our clients. Like, I'd rather them know everything up front and say, look, if you're not comfortable yet, let's wait for the next project, because I know you're going to go out and find another great project for them. So like, let's just hold off until you feel comfortable, because once you get into it, it's so fast. Sometimes like, I feel like their heads are spinning, right?
So that's why I wanted to do this topic. Yes. Right now, because it's real life stuff that we're going through. If you guys have questions, throw them in the Q&A. Big shout out to Steven Rochester behind the camera. He's controlling the ones and twos. He'll bring up the questions and comments. We'll make sure that we get to them directly. Laura, what happens, and what is more importantly happening with our 20 clients right now after they sign the agreement of purchase and sale?
So our 20 clients have signed for the agreement, and the developer has signed it back. So now they have what's called an executed agreement of purchase and sale. Once they get that back from the developer, that technically marks day one of their 10-day due diligence period. And what I do with our clients is, unless they have a lawyer that they like to work with, we kind of like to keep it in-house. And I say that because if everyone's using the same lawyer, if all 20 people are using the same lawyer, and that lawyer finds something in the agreement that is confusing or it's not clear, they want something changed with the developer, that lawyer can call the developer's lawyer and say, I'm calling on behalf of all 20 of our buyers. I need this changed. And the developer is that much more likely to negotiate with our lawyer and say, sure, versus...
Let me explain why. When a lawyer finds an ambiguity or an open charge or something that's not to these contracts are already skewed very much to the developer, meaning they can do this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, there's charges, and that's what they're looking for. Yeah. Where can they stick you at the end?
Yeah.
And they want to close those doors. They want to close the ambiguity. If a lawyer calls for one out of 400 units or whatever the case may be, the developer can say no.
Yeah, I got a lineup of other buyers.
But when a lawyer calls and says, I have 20, I would really strongly recommend that you change this and give me an amendment for this.
It's the power of numbers, right?
99.9% are going to be like, we don't want to lose 20 real buyers on day 7 of 10.
Yeah. Which happened in this process, right? So our lawyer did go back and needed some changes, and those changes got approved. So we're waiting on some amendments for that. But essentially, I'll introduce our clients to a lawyer who then provides them with an email summary of their agreement, kind of just going over the things that they need to look for. The agreements are 30 pages, usually, give or take. Plus, you have a condo document. That's like 150 pages, right? Like, if you've never done this, you're like, where do I even start? Like, I only have 10 days to read this. They're run-on sentences. I mean, I don't know how anyone reads any of this stuff.
And the verbiage is tough sometimes, right?
Yeah,
like you don't know
exactly.
what some of these words even mean.
So the lawyers in the email is pointing out where in the agreement you should really focus your attention on. Read this paragraph. Go see your expenses written here. That's also what he's looking for. Then once we do that, we need what's called a mortgage pre-approval letter. So that has to happen within the 10 days as well. We don't necessarily need the letter within the 10 days, but we need to start the process because we want everyone to feel comfortable. Now, keep in mind, the mortgage pre-approval really isn't worth the paper.
It's a formality, right?
It's a formality, right?
Yeah.
So the developer, in order to get construction financing, they need to go to their lender and get that construction financing. And the lender says, well, that's great, but how do I know that these, 80 buyers actually can afford this condo? What proof can you show me? So that's what the letter's for. It's a quick application they do online. I say it shouldn't take you more than 10 to 15 minutes. We'll get the letter done. And that essentially kind of wraps up the due diligence. So once our clients are like comfortable from the lawyer's perspective and we started the application, they're good to go.
Now, I want you to go into the micro a little bit more.
I made that sound really easy.
Yeah, but that's okay. You made it. You make it easy. You've also done 1,600 of these.
But it is easy if you have the experience to queue everything up properly.
And if you actually have someone, and it doesn't need to be us, guys. Look, I mean, our cups are full. Our cups are full of cappuccino right now, but also our cups are also full in terms of the amount of business that we have. We're so blessed, and we want to continue doing this. But if you're watching right now and saying, look, you guys are great, you give me all the education, but I'm going to use my cousin Charlie, there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure your cousin Charlie holds your hand through the process. There's a reason we made Laura's role very, very specific because Simos and I and some of our other team members, we can't do everything. We already wear a lot of hats, but Laura's role with our company is very, very specific because, I mean, the on average, these 20 units that were done a couple of weeks ago, I think the average price point was $667,000.
Yeah, that sounds right.
We're talking about a lot of money, guys. We're not buying a pair of shoes here.
And it's all happening at the same time, right? It's not like these 20 buyers are spread out over a month. Like it's everybody went into contract within 1 to 2 days of each other.
Now, I see you going back and forth like a little Energizer bunny here all the time on the phone, and I hear all these things that you're talking about, and you get a lot of questions about a few things.
Yeah.
Development charges.
Yeah.
What's your talk around development charges? Because then we're going to speak about assignment, lease during occupancy.
Yeah.
I really want you to prepare someone who hasn't done this. And if you've done this with Laura and REC Canada, because I see a lot of names, give us the red hearts. We'll go red hearts because it's love. It's lovable Laura. Lovable Laura for the wine. Are we having actually a sip of this today?
Yeah, like
you're
really
going to need a corkscrew, buddy.
I'm not going to lie to you, buddy. This is going to happen right now.
Okay, perfect. Stephen, there's a corkscrew somewhere here in one of these rooms, buddy. I want to make sure that you're prepared and ready. But if you've done this before with Laura and REC Canada, give us the red heart so we see what's going on. Laura, talk about development charges and then assignments and lease during occupancy.
I'm going to start the whole conversation about it by specifying that there's 2 dates when you're closing on a new build condo. So there's the occupancy date. That's the date that you've been told about. So it's probably, 2025, for example. April 2025 is the occupancy date. That's what's written in your agreement as the occupancy date. That's technically the date that you're going to get the keys to your unit. If you're an end user, you can move in. That's what happens at that time, but you're not closing on your unit. You're not actually getting a mortgage at that time, okay? That doesn't happen until the closing date, the second important date, which is about 6 to 8 months roughly after the occupancy date. So those are the 2 dates. So when we're talking about development charges, I'm going to fast forward to the closing date because all the charges happen at closing. So the cap development charges, the developer's closing on your unit, you're about to take full title and possession of it, and the city charges the developer a bunch of fees, taxes, levies, and things like that, for which they just move on to you, the buyer. The only problem with that is because we're in 2021, it's hard to get a good idea of what those charges are going to be in 2025 because things change, lumber increases, steel, like all these things change in prices, and the city decides suddenly that they're going to charge the developer more. So it's hard for them to say that this is exactly what it's going to be.
I would just contribute a tiny bit there to what Laura is saying. Not only do we not know what they're going to be in the future, we do know that in the last 4 years, they have actually been increased. Development charges to the city specifically, per condominium unit, per townhouse unit, per detached, per semi-detached, in every single asset class of residential real estate, there has been at least a 250% increase. This is factual.
Yep.
It's messed up. But the city needs money, and the first place they go hit is the development community because we have an amazing housing shortage in need. So when people say the prices are going up, the city always stays quiet because the biggest culprit of the percentage of the cost when you're buying a new home is literally not the building of the home.
And
it's everything surrounding it.
Yeah, you have to consider, like, if you say, well, that's not fair, why is it charged to us? Do understand that when you're building a building, you can't just plop a building in the middle of an area that had no buildings and put 600 people into this area that weren't there before and not consider what needs to be. You need sidewalks, you need stoplights, you need stop signs, you need changes in sewage,
power,
you
water.
need playgrounds, you need schools. Like, there's a lot that goes into just giving the people who are going to live in the building a good community to live in. So that's what you're kind of paying towards. But it's important to have that cap so that you can save accordingly, right? So if it's capped at $15,000, you're like, okay, I know I'm going to need that $15,000 on closing. I'm going to save it. If it comes in at less, you'll pay the lesser amount. So that's great. And if it comes in at more, the developer's required to pay more. So you're protected in either respect.
That's right.
Now,
and when that had started, to finish that story, development charges were typically never passed on to the consumer. Then when the development charges started raising, they passed all of it to the consumer, unbeknown to them. So they went to the lawyer's office on closing, and they said, Mr. Papalias, this is how much you need. You put down your 20%. Here is your mortgage. Your closing adjustments are right here.
Yeah.
And this over here is your development charges. And you said, what?
No one's ever told me. I've never heard of this.
We're talking 30,000, 50,000, 90,000. Google it. You'll see horror stories where people went in and literally had to look for a window to jump out of because now you're stuck. Your mortgage is here. Your cash
and
is
you're
in.
closing today.
And
You need that money today.
Find the money.
Yeah.
And you can't put that in the mortgage, right? You need that cash up front. Now, that actually great segue leading up to that closing, because you're going to know about this all up front. You know about it.
Big shout out to
Becky. Yes, Becky. Salut.
Talk to me about the closings.
So we know that the closing's coming up. You as an investor, you know the closing's coming up 6, 7, 8 months, 9 months. I think a year before is the time where if you're not able to close on it from a financial perspective, you don't have the cash up front, or you're not going to be able to get the mortgage, you've exhausted, in our opinion, all options in terms of not getting a joint venture partner. You have this security blanket, which is the assignment clause. Yeah. And how does that work, Laura?
Yeah. So just like you said, about a year before you go into occupancy is when you want to consider using this. It's called the right to assign. And that essentially means you're selling the paperwork to your unit. So you're not selling anything. The building's not finalized. It's not done being built. You're just like, okay, I can't close on it, or something's happened. I don't want to close on it. Sometimes people will use the assignment because they've actually seen quite a bit of appreciation in the unit. So they want to just take the profit out and do something else.
So they're selling their agreement.
They're selling their agreement. So I'm literally going to take my paperwork and I'm going to sell it to you. And that's like in layman's terms, how easy it is.
We do that about 30 to 40 times a year. We definitely, and I'm sure there's some insiders watching right now, either live or definitely watching the recording, that are going to say, yeah, I mean, we called the team at REC to do the assignment because of the profit. And then I got on the phone with one of the team members, and by the end of the call, I decided to keep it. Because the reason is we're always going to go down that path, because if you're selling it for the profit, unless you like really need it because of financial hardship, there's other ways to get the money out. Just close on the property.
And it's only going to go up higher.
Yeah. And a month later, you refinance it, pull out 80%. You're not going to get the 100%, but you're going to get 80 cents on the dollar, and you're going to be able to go tax-free. I always like to mention that, tax-free, and you're going to be able to do more. Did you touch on, I know you spoke slightly about lease during occupancy, and we have the incentive, which is
so I want you to really explain what it is. I just wanted to say about the assignment is that those are in the scenario where you do have to sell, I actually feel really good about those deals when we put those together, because we do have a number of investors who are always looking to pick up assignments. That's their preferred strategy, simply because they don't want to wait. They don't have the patience to wait the 4 or 5 years for the building to get built. But they can actually pick up an assignment at a bit of a discount, because you, the assignor, have to give a bit of a discount. So whatever the market rate is for your unit that day, you're going to discount it a little bit, leave some money on the table for the new buyer, but you've also made profit and you're getting out of the deal. So both parties walk away feeling very, very happy and being profitable. It's a win-win situation.
When you spoke about investors wanting that, my brother, okay, I'm the youngest of 3. But if you ever see him, just tell him he looks the youngest. You'll make his day. He'll love it. Shout out to my brother Tak. All Tak does, that's his whole portfolio. His whole strategy is to look for assignments. Simos, you actually put together a deal for my brother that just closed. Like, the email from the lawyer went to the clients yesterday.
That's right.
After all expenses, the real estate fees, the builder fees back then, it was like $1,000 to do the assignment or something like that. The assignor, the original buyer, an REC insider, got their deposits back, their 20% that they put in, and a profit of, what was the number?
$100,000.
$98,700 or something like that.
A big shout out to Lynn, a big shout out to Tak, a big shout out to the lawyers, because it was actually a pretty convoluted agreement, not due to the fault of either party, but based on the language and when the assignment was done, and of course our beloved COVID.
Exactly right.
But big shout out to all parties involved.
To all parties, because it just happened. So look, I mean, it's real, right? They saw the profit. They wanted to take that profit out. They did,
and like you said, they didn't have to do anything. You get $100,000. All you do is write some checks and wait.
Right. Exactly. You just got to have some patience, right? Because we know what's going to happen with values. Lease during occupancy. Because there's a lot of confusion around it. It's probably, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's like the meat of your conversation when you're on the phone with our REC insiders, is this part right here. And then there's one other that we're definitely
and what does it mean to be able to lease during it? So I already explained the 2 dates, because these 2 dates always pop up in all these incentives. So at occupancy, as I mentioned, if you're an end user, that's when you can move in. Some developers will say, if you're an investor, you can't rent your unit out during this occupancy period. The problem with that is you're actually paying what's called an occupancy fee. So as soon as you get the keys, you're forced to pay this occupancy fee, which is made up of your maintenance fees, your property taxes, and a small percentage of the
interest-only portion.
The interest-only portion.
So it's all based on estimates. And again, it's meant to cover the builder. Occupancy period was created out of necessity. In a city like Toronto, which is in Ontario, the busiest of all provinces, the biggest of all provinces, population-wise. If you bought a home, in 3 years you were given a date, and you sold your home and you made arrangements and you needed to move in, and they said the building is not ready, but you look at inside you and you said, I can live in there. Let me live there. Don't do this to me. One after the other, after the other, after the other. Occupancy period was introduced in Ontario. It's not across, in other provinces, you're not allowed to give an occupancy. You wait till registration. Here they did, for whatever reason, that's my understanding of how this came about to be. So when the building is substantially complete and safe to be lived in, where you don't need boots and a hard hat to walk inside, they can hand over the occupancy period.
This is, anyone who goes into any of these condos here in Toronto, you'll probably see they still have some of the cardboarding up, like on the floors. The amenities aren't done, or they're doing the top floors, but all the bottom floors are complete. Right. So they're allowing people to move in and get access to housing.
Safety permits have
earlier. Everything's safe and you're good to move in.
And that fee is exactly what you said. The estimated property tax, the estimated maintenance fee, there's no adjustment after. It's just the estimate from the beginning of the cost reporting, and the interest-only portion of what would be your financing. So if you had a 20% down contract based on your purchase price, the 80% mortgage, it would be the interest-only portion of that. So it's made up of those 3 things.
And another term that gets thrown around is ghost mortgage. That's what you might read in blogs. You might be at an investor meetup and someone says ghost mortgage. You now know what they're really talking about. It really is just the occupancy fee that you're paying because it doesn't go towards your mortgage. It's like paying rent, right? As from an end user's perspective, it's okay. Like you got your place. It's not registered yet, but you were probably most likely paying rent somewhere.
Well,
anyways,
and it's kind of good for it, like if you are moving in that respect, because you're paying a little bit less than you probably will be paying on closing because you don't actually have your mortgage yet. That varies.
And it works out as an investor too, right?
Yeah,
we always talk about that.
It only works at an investor if you have the right to assign.
Right.
Because you're paying that fee no matter what. So if you can't
the right to lease.
The right to lease. So if you can't rent out your unit during this time, you have to pay that fee. So now you're in the hole, right? So if you don't have the right to lease, that's not a good thing. But
so let's talk about why there's a right to lease, because people are confused. When you take over occupancy, please remember you do not own the condominium yet.
Good point.
You are temporarily using the law of the occupancy period to be in the unit. So when we negotiate the right to lease, what we're basically asking the developer as an investor is to assume the risk of a tenancy.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Why is there risk? Well, what if this person, this tenant, turns out to be a professional, meaning
professional renter,
that they don't pay rent, that they don't want to leave, that they don't want to do all the things that are normally done? Guess whose property that is? It's not yours yet.
Yep.
That's a good point, because I get this question a lot. And I'm sure I'll be getting it in a couple of days, because people will say, well, I read the amendment for the right to lease, and it seems very, very one-sided. Like the developer has the right to not allow a specific tenant. They do have that right. They can say, we don't allow you to lease to this person. And that can seem pretty scary if you've never done it. I will say, like, I know you handle this part of the process for all of our insiders when we get to that point. Have you ever seen a developer actually say no to a tenant?
I don't think in any of our, have we?
Yeah.
seen this?
We have.
Yeah. Okay.
We have with Green Park at Richmond.
Okay.
There was 2 where they actually reviewed them and they're like, no, we don't like this tenant.
Yeah.
It was cleared up and the tenants did go through because we screened them. We said, no, you're looking at the wrong 2 metrics.
Right.
This is this person's credit report. This is this person's credit report. And this is their income.
Got it.
But they did review.
Yeah.
They did reject.
Yeah.
We appealed and we got it through and everything is hunky-dory.
Good.
But they have before.
It's rare.
It's not often,
Yeah.
especially because we personally have a reputation. I don't know if they do it more with others.
Yeah.
But with us, they pretty much know we take our stuff pretty seriously, that our relationship with our client means a lot more than our relationship with the developer.
Yeah.
And majority of our clients are multi-transactional in the same strategy, right? Like there's names that I'm seeing right now that are like in the chat group here, but because they're multi-transactional, our clients, as well as when we were speaking about the lawyer going back to go negotiate, when he or she is negotiating for 20 people, it's a lot easier to deal with the builder, a lot easier. So when the builder also wants us to sell their next project.
Sure.
If they give us a headache, and some of the builders, if you're watching right now, you have given us too much of a headache, big sign behind Simo says removing friction. All you did is added friction to our lives and our clients' lives. We're not going to do this with you again. We know that.
It's that simple.
And there's a list that we have that we will not work with these builders once ever again. They might be some of the top builders in the city. We don't care. We're not working with them because we actually know, you might have a great building. However, we know what you're going to put our clients through, and we're just not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
No.
Right? Now, Laura, I think, I said the lease during occupancy was probably the meat of the conversation, but I think they're actually truly the meat of your conversation.
Let me guess.
What is
Let
it?
me guess.
Yeah.
HST.
100%. 100%. If you Google HST in and around real estate, like I implore all you to do that after this brunch, you will see.
All he wants you to do is put your head in for a spin and come up with absolutely nothing.
No
because,
information.
because it's all conflicting opinions.
Yeah, it's all conflicting. You ask some lawyers, in all honesty.
We've gotten different answers.
We got different answers, but we finally figured this thing out.
Yeah, we figured it out. And the good news is the majority of our insiders are purchasing in a price point that actually makes it quite easy.
To explain.
So the average price point that we just sold in the last couple of weeks was 670. Yeah.
677.
670.
Yeah.
So they're at a place where their HST is going to be paid on closing. So that latter date I was talking about, along with your development charges, you're going to pay HST as an investor, as an end
Hang
user.
on 1 second, Laura, because 1 second, because I really want to take our time. So the agreement of purchase and sale says a purchase price of $670,000. We're only speaking to investors anyways, okay?
Okay.
So now take us through the process. So it's $670,000 is the purchase price. Was that included in HST? Am I paying on top? How does that all work?
No, purchase prices do not include HST.
Yeah.
As an investor, it
Yes.
does not include HST. You pay HST on closing. So now I know you're all freaking out like,
13%.
oh my God, it's 13%, it's 30%. This makes it not even feasible. I can't afford it. Calm down. Everyone calm down. It's not 13% of the
You
purchase
did
price.
build up some intensity there. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Because I hear that.
I felt my blood rising.
But
a
this
bit.
is what
Because I
Laura's
get the
calls
call,
are
and
here,
it's
right?
like, I can't do this deal. I need to back out. Oh my God. I'm like, the HSA. And I'm like, everyone calm down. Everyone calm down. Okay. So it's not 13% of the purchase price. It's going to work out to be $24,000 that you pay on closing.
It's the max.
That's the max. The good news is that way back on that occupancy date, you were able to lease your unit because you had the right to lease during occupancy. You already then have a 1-year lease agreement in place. So you pay your HST the very next day. You're going to put in an application to the CRA. And in that application, you're going to show your 1-year lease agreement.
That you're proof that you are a housing provider.
You're doing a service. You're providing housing and homes for people. And then the government's going to say, okay, great. This is a 1-year lease agreement. Approved. And you're going to get, I say 99% of your $24,000 back because let's be honest, it's the government and they had to open your mail. So they're going to charge you for that. You just did this. You guys just did this with one of your buildings.
We're getting back
What did you get back?
So we paid $24,000 and we got back $23,452.
And the other one was 22,000 for whatever reason. There was a price there.
Because it didn't fit in the purchase price.
It's always within a couple thousand.
Exactly.
So that's why I say 99%, you're going to pay a little bit of a fee. You're going to get that back anywhere between 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, I'd say on average.
Just push it to 8 weeks because again, it is the CRA. They'll take your money really quickly,
But I think
they take a little slower to giving it back.
The takeaway here, and I think we're going to be implementing things in our business to our insiders because we're learning and we're improving every day too. Mm-hmm. The takeaway from all this is that within those 30 days, so there's people who bought 20 days ago or whatever, or 2 weeks ago. We educated them on the process. I think what we're going to do now is there's going to be a full blown where we bring Michael from the HST company.
Yep.
He's going to come in. We're going to put him on the broadcasting.
Yep.
Every single buyer needs mandatory to attend this meeting because I never again want to see a confused look the last week before you close.
100%.
That breaks my heart because your unit made a couple $100,000. You should be celebrating daily,
100%,
anticipating the closing.
Yeah.
But you're stressed out because, and it's our fault, we didn't adequately prepare you for the cash crunch because it's not a lot of money.
Yep.
But it's a lot of money today.
Yeah.
And until it comes back, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, that's
it's
why
a
we
cash flow situation.
and that's why we consistently thank the first 50 people we did this with 8 years ago because you were kind of the guinea pigs as we were doing this. And I don't mean
a lot of this legislation came in
afterwards
via this all too.
Well,
right.
And here's the important thing. We don't include the HST. So when you look at a pro forma, it doesn't include the HST because if we put it in, there's no way to take it out. And that's going to mess up your ROI numbers. Like it doesn't make sense because you do get the majority of it back.
If you add it in, it adds a small cost to the cost. But when you take it back, it adds too much to the return.
Exactly.
And it actually skews and it's a
fake.
lie to the
It's a fake.
Yeah. So it just doesn't work for us. So I know that you guys tell people on the phone, Luke tells them on the phone, the lawyer goes over it. So I just don't want there to be any confusion. You do need the $24,000 on closing.
Okay.
You have to pay it.
Now, the other part that you go through, and you just said it, pro forma. What do we showcase on that pro forma? You mentioned that we don't include the HST. So when you look at a pro forma, you mentioned that we don't show the HST. Why don't you just talk through the
The
performa?
cash required to close or the whole thing?
Well, the whole thing, right? What? Because there's probably somebody watching right now and saying, "Look, I go to these meetups and I hear these things,
Yeah.
performas, and there's 1,000 other type of words for it, cash flow analysis and all that." What is it that we actually send to our clients? Because sometimes our clients ask us, "Hey, can I get a performa before I even look at any unit?"
Yeah.
And
So
our
we'll
response
usually
to
do
them-
kind of like a sample performa, because regardless of the unit that you're buying, like it's going to be in and around what the sample performa looks like, which essentially is going to show what we suspect, what we forecast the rent to be in 4 or 5 years when this building's actually built. It's going to showcase all of your expenses. So it's going to talk about the property taxes, the mortgage payment, the maintenance fees, the insurance. It's going to talk about all that on there, and then it's going to showcase what your monthly cash flow is going to be. So I know for a lot of people, that's they look at that, right? When we're talking about investing. Now, keep in mind that in the GTA, you're not going to be seeing a lot of cash flows. Sometimes you'll even be seeing slightly negative cash flow, $100, $200.
Well, it's more of an equity play, right?
Exactly.
And we say that when we're launching it. Sorry.
Exactly. So that's when I always bring them over to the right side of the performer, where it's going to talk about the cash required to close. So your development charges, there's no HST on there, but your legal fees. And what else?
Well,
on
we
that
also
side?
throw in we also make sure, because cash required.
Oh, your
to close
land
on the-
transfer tax.
Your land transfer tax, that's huge, especially if you're buying in Toronto. It's double. Welcome to Ontario. Welcome to Toronto taxes, we like to call it. But then also some of those extra little fees, right? The Terry on home warranties.
So what I usually do on that side of the performa is, let's say the development charge is capped at $15,000. I'll usually add on additional $3,000 to $5,000 for those additional fees.
The connection charges, the gas meter charges.
Utility meters, educational levies, and arts for the community. Like all those things that, unfortunately, I wish they would just include everything in the development charges, but there's always a couple others. And again, I don't want you to be surprised. So I'm going to say, save the entire $20,000 and let's hope everything comes at less. But at least you're not screwed on closing.
Exactly. And there's no surprises, right?
Surprise.
And now that we've seen this so many times, that you're also going to have, like, I want you to envision the 20 people that we're speaking about, and some of them are on this brunch with us right now. They've signed that agreement of purchase and sale, but after it's done, because you always say it on the phone, I hear it again, right, Laura, that you're saying, like, look, this is going to move very quickly. Your head's about to spin. How quickly the signing process happens, especially in today's
You
day and
have
age.
to sign without reading it.
Exactly.
And I always say, I don't know about any of you guys, but like my dad was like, don't you dare sign anything without ever reading it.
Right.
And so this is like, I have to ask the clients, I'm like, please sign it without reading it.
Because the link expires.
Link expires. And more importantly, at the beginning of a development project, because we get in at first access pricing, you have to understand the psychology of the developer. If you're not a serious buyer, they want to take that unit back as fast as possible and go sell it to the next person at a higher price.
Well,
so they don't have time for you to be sitting around and reading the documents before signing.
Right.
Then you can once you sign, you have that 10 days.
Automatically.
Then sit down, review it, read it then. But unfortunately, I need you to sign right now.
Yeah, no, look, and we're never trying to push anyone. Anybody who's been in our wheelhouse long enough understands that's not our style. That's not who we are. But unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately. It's actually very fortunate, because if you talk about the 20 people in contract right now, I know what the new price lists are out there right now, right? I mean, prices have been increased anywhere from $12,000 to $16,000, depending on what type of size of unit you have, because the builder in this specific building, okay, and you can go back to the brunch 2 weeks ago, myself, Simos, and the CEO of Edenshaw, Carmen, we sat down, we had the conversation. Now it's 2 weeks later. What happened is that they had 423 suites, I believe, but they double sold the building. It's like Air Canada when they oversubscribed for flights. That's what these guys did as well. They actually had a little over 832 reservation
so here's
forms.
The thing, they like when you cancel.
100%.
Right now, they're like, thank you, because I'm going to take that unit and I'm going to go sell it to this person for $12,000 more. They're happy.
Yeah.
But they just want to get the move on. Right. So for you guys who signed up, that's why taking action so quickly is important, because you've already on paper made a little bit.
Well, look, I mean, we're getting comments that says great info, everybody, great information. You all are helping to eliminate fears that I have. Thanks. Big shout out to Adam. I mean, if that's all we did today, it's a massive WW meeting,
That's right.
a massive win. Now, there's a couple of other things that kind of go on in terms of the emotions, Laura. I want you to touch on this, okay?
Yeah.
Because now you have experience of, you know, I don't know if you've been with us for the full 1,600, but you're probably at like the 1,100, 1,400 clients that actually went from start to finish.
Yeah.
But you're probably over 2,300 of clients that signed the agreement, but then
Yes.
something happened,
Yeah.
they had to pull out. And guys, for everybody who's watching right now, if you actually sign an agreement and go through the 10-day due diligence period and pull back, there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. That's why we have it. There's like, you could do that 17 times with us and we're okay with that. We just want you to actually take,
But not 18
action.
times.
Not 18. Don't do 18.
Well,
17's okay.
Yeah.
Now,
as
so
long
Laura-
as you do one.
Laura, I want you to touch on the for lack of a better word, the fluffy stuff. Okay, the fluffy stuff meaning what do you see when it comes to the emotions that people are going through? Because maybe
Yeah.
that's where we can, you know, take away a fear like
Yeah.
Adam's. That's what you did today. So big shout out to you, Alto. What is it that you're
I
seeing?
would say uncertainty about getting mortgages,
Okay,
right?
Interesting.
because it's hard to know today if you'll be able to qualify for a mortgage. That seems to be a lot of fear. And I say, you know, the good news is we have a long period of time between now and when you actually get the mortgage. So let's set ourselves up so that we will be able to get the mortgage. Like, let's put our best foot forward. Let's talk to a mortgage broker.
You
today.
have more control than you think.
You have so much control over the next couple years to figure out, like, put all your ducks in a row so that you'll be able to get the mortgage. And if I still say it, if for whatever reason you can't, then again, we have that right to assign, so you can get out of the deal, or we get creative and we get joint venture partners and things like that. That seems to be a sticky point for a lot of people.
Right.
And again, some people will say, well, you know, I don't show a lot of income right now. So how can I get the mortgage pre-approval? We kind of went over that.
Right.
That's
more of
and
a
I say,
formality.
Don't worry, we'll get you the mortgage.
It really is. A lot of it's based on assets and liabilities. There's really no
Yeah.
even credit checks being done, right? I mean, it's very much
And that
worth less
depends.
than. Well, it depends. I agree,
depends.
Simo. Sorry, go ahead.
In certain cases, because it's all about the 4-year, 5-year timeline. We sell hundreds of projects. We have a massive team, and there could be a townhouse site that's next year.
Yeah.
That mortgage pre-approval would be a real one.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, you need to get lined up.
Yeah.
Like, they need to know that you can close because they're buying the wood tomorrow.
There's no option to assign.
But depending,
necessarily.
because the vast volume and majority of what this room specifically does is a 4 or 5 year time, a 3 to 5 year timeline, those are much easier to get because it's based on your situation today, which is typically good if you're buying real estate. It's typically not bad. You're not going to be buying real estate when the world around you is collapsing. You're
Yep.
typically buying real estate when the world around you is building.
Yeah.
So typically you will be fine. And we have some of the best financiers on our side in our team. And our all-star team is your all-star team.
All day long.
Please, before you ever make that a point of worry, speak to us and our team first. And if there is something to worry about it, trust me, we will be the first ones to tell you.
I mean, Anne mentions here, I pulled out once on my first deal, but glad of the experience and ready to jump back in. That's exactly what happens, right? I mean,
I always say, you know, it's good to, even if you're not sure, go through the process
That's a
once,
good point,
kind of
Laura.
almost with the intention of like, Laura, I probably won't be going firm on this.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because going through the process, you can learn so much.
yeah.
Right? Like just going, like seeing what the lawyer is going to say, seeing what our team's going to say, watching it all play out is actually a very important learning experience for you so that the next time when you are more ready, you are like, that won't be the fear that's holding you back.
And look, you know, one thing that I think we kind of mentioned, that we mentioned we forgot to mention is the fact.
That wine's getting
Yeah,
to
the
you.
wine's getting to me. It's very early. Jazz hasn't eaten yet.
Becky, how much alcohol?
Big shout out to Jordan, by the way, the caterer. But what I forgot to mention is that when you actually sign the agreement of purchase and sale, within 24 hours, you have to show up with a deposit. I'm going to say 99% of the time, it's a $5,000 deposit. Okay. That $5,000 deposit is just held by the builder to show seriousness. You had to actually make a deal happen. There has to be some type of consideration.
The consideration to consummate the deal. That's
Exactly
it.
And there's your $5,000. I'm here to tell you, in 16 years on a new build or a resale, we have never lost anyone's deposit. We're not planning to start with you. And we all knock on wood because we just like to make sure that we remind ourselves how important that is. Because on a new build, it's different than a resale. See, when you're doing a resale deal for a property, investment, whatever it is, income property, your first home or condo, you actually have to waive the conditions. You actually have to sign something that says, I am ready to move forward. Because if you don't sign that, then the deal automatically dies out. On a new build, it's completely different.
It's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite. If you sign an agreement, purchase and sale, give the $5,000 deposit and go to sleep for 10 days.
You
don't wake up on day 11. On day 11,
you woke up with a condo.
You just bought yourself a condo.
So that's why I'm usually calling them on day.
That's just why I want to mention this.
5, 6, 7, 8. Like, I don't let you get to that 10 days. And I'm texting you, emailing. We're in so much contact during that time that, you know, it rarely even gets to 10 days.
Look,
most people are usually like, I'm good to move forward after 5 days as long as we got everything
or not
kind of figured out or not.
Or
look,
not.
And not to knock anyone else's business model, right? I mean, there is a lot of there's 65,000 agents in the GTA, first and foremost. I mean, you throw a stone, you'll hit one here. And for any of our American friends or outside of Canada, I mean, that's a 50-mile radius. There's 65,000 real estate agents. I'm going to say, it's safe to say, Simos, I mean, you're more in this game. Platinum agents, that word that gets thrown around for new builds, what is there, 50, 60, like top tier?
So there's 150 top tier agents in new construction, out of which 30
are like top.
I would say are absolute real platinums.
Now, some of them, okay, again, not to knock anyone's business model. We only think about ourselves and our clients. But some of them, what they'll do is not hold your hand through the process because that's just not their business model. They'll look at us and, you know, there's 1,300 agents in the organization that we're under World of Page Signature and say, why the heck do you guys go through so much? Like, how do you try to scale that? And what we always come back is we are trying to scale the unscalable, which means that Laura is going to call these 20 people. And if you're on the brunch, give that blue like or heart. And you're like, yes, I hear from Laura all the time because you're calling them. You said day 5, day 6, day 7, but you were in contact with them day 1.
Every day.
every single day, because at the highest level, what I mentioned earlier, 16 years, haven't lost anyone's deposit. We're not planning to start with you. We know what happens if you fall asleep. And what we do sometimes, even you might not even know about it because we haven't been able to talk to you. And on day 9, we just go get the extension. And that day 10, we turn it into day 13 if we have to. Doesn't always work by getting an extension. Some builders won't give it to us, but there's been times where we couldn't just get a hold of you and we're not going to lose that deposit.
I did want to make mention one other thing that I thought maybe Simos could speak to is a lot of our clients aren't from the GTA and their fear is, you know, I'm from BC and I'm purchasing in the GTA and I don't know if that's a good idea because it's not my backyard. Who's going to take care of the property when it's closed? And I know that that's where your side of the team comes into play. Why don't you touch a little bit about what we do for our clients that are
and there has been drastic changes and improvements made at a great cost of time and effort. But we see it now paying off every single day with 5-star reviews, with beautiful and kind words to our staff. And what Jazz was saying a second ago, where he mentioned we're trying to scale the unscalable. We are scaling the unscalable, and that's world-class service that we're referring to. And it hasn't been without challenge. It hasn't been without issues. It hasn't been without everything you could possibly imagine to scale experiences. Because you can't throw money at experiences. You can't throw this at an experience. An experience is a feeling of trust and comfort. So when I hear the voice of my client in panic, I failed. As far as I'm concerned, everything is okay. Everything will work out. But when they say, I wish I heard back from you a week before today, we take it to heart because we were too busy, because we were this, that, and the other. So we have implemented processes in place today. REC Property Management was born 4 months ago as a necessity to respond to hundreds of units under management. So the latest few projects that we're closing at mass, meaning where we have 20, 30, 40 people inside the development, that represents like 10% of a building. Like, to put that into perspective, we're not talking, it's not a joke. So to lease 20 units out, timely, with priority, with fairness, are you leasing somebody else's before mine? All the things that the human mind has to think about. In the processes that go into play for a fair, great process, to control rents, to do all these things is now in place. To collect rents and to have a centralized command center where the client can have a dashboard and literally check in on the status. Is my money here?
Yeah.
Is it in your trust account? I see it there.
Yeah.
Reconcile, please. Reconcile.
Yeah.
Like all the things, but these things had to get born and be built and be tested and fail and rebuilt and retested, like everything else we've done. But when I say the emails are coming in, where they say Katie is an amazing resource, when they say thank you Gevic, thank you Caroline, thank you Bobby, Rosanee, like how many reviews does Rosanee have?
Yep.
That monster. She's relentless.
She rents out my personal condo. She rents out ones that you and I
if
have
I don't
together.
respond, because every single one of our agents has to get approval from us at the end. Like they're saying, I have it, I've done all the due diligence, the client loves them, I love them, press approve, send me in. If I don't respond quick enough to Rosanee, she will call, text, WhatsApp, call my wife, call Bobby. Where is he? Have him approve it now. She's a monster.
I'm scared of her sometimes.
I'm scared of her too.
Yeah.
The Brazilian, the Brazilian wonder.
In the
But-
best way possible,
but-
because she's actually working
You
for.
want
You want that
you
as a
want.
landlord,
Yeah.
right? You
So
want her, yeah.
So just to
And
cap
Katie and Gevic, sorry.
So just to cap that out, there is massive changes that we are trying to scale the unscalable. We do sell a lot of real estate. Again, our cups are full, and all these things that we build in the back end is to give back an unforgettable experience and to create what we want to create, which is the absolute authority, the best team hands down in this country. That is our audacious goal.
Well, and look, and we're taking it. And what I love, what we've always done, is we've built it kind of from the ground up, right?
That's right.
And we said we're going to do this the right way, and it's going to take us a while to do it. I mean, we're 16 years into this. I was talking.
Rest in peace to our late partner Simon.
100%. I
He
mean,
was part of every single second of those days.
I one of our phenoms here, Luke, who's kind of becoming my right hand guy when it comes to the new build stuff. We were just in a conversation yesterday. He's like, man, like it's so cool that you guys don't really have any holes in your organization no more. I was like, whoa.
That's so cute.
Buddy, the day when we don't have holes, I'm done.
Yeah.
What keeps me up night, what keeps you up at night, what
Yeah,
keeps
we're
you
not
up at
stretching
night
ourselves
is the
then.
fact that we still have so many holes. We're not perfect.
The biggest hole ever.
And we're just trying to get better over time, every single day, just a little better. We had a question here, Ken, saying, I know you guys are very busy with the GTA. Are you considering providing the service for Ottawa? The city is exploding on condos with the new LRT being built. Then there is Montreal as well. I mean, Simos just kind of mentioned it, right? We are going to be going nationwide. We're just not completely ready for that right now.
So I'll just say to this: we've already completed our first successful Ottawa collaboration.
Yeah.
The only way that we can scale nationally and provide the same type of service would be to grow out a true collaboration network where we have the REC Ottawa branch.
Yes.
The REC, but I'm not talking about us being in Ottawa. Yeah. I'm talking about instilling the same book,
yeah.
the system that you have literally.
It was right here. It was right here. It's gone. Yeah.
It's world-class service systems.
It's about this big.
But it is a blueprint of our practice.
Yes.
It's a blueprint of our firm. And if we were able, so we're not talking about like a franchise or a branch. We're talking about to be able to say, call Rachel Hammer.
Yes.
And you're going to expect this,
and it's
this.
the exact same.
And it's the exact same. And we had negotiated access to James House at the first price, all the things that we do here. Is it difficult to do? The answer is yes, very, because of the geographical disconnection, meaning although Zoom is here, the world is a tiny place. Real estate is not a product that you can buy online still to this day. It still needs, I need to hold your hand. I need to show you why and how and the experience. And that's what makes it difficult. To answer that question again, the answer is yes. We are working on collaboration systems. We don't know what that is going to ultimately look like, but do expect in the next 3 years an REC, like our name is REC Canada, expect a national presence for certain.
In closing, a couple of things that I wanted to just kind of wrap up with. One, Laura, before you actually bought your first property a couple of years ago, I think it was exactly 2 years ago, you still walked people through this, like probably at the tune at that time of 900 clients, 1,000 clients at that time. But yet when you needed to sign and you needed to write those checks.
You guys are with me. I'll never forget that day.
I just remembered Simos kind of grabbed your hand and I remembered that day what he did
That
and
was
what
scary.
while we were there, he's like, it's okay.
That was scary.
We're gonna like you've done this, and we're gonna walk you through it. What's some parting words for some REC insiders and our brunch viewers today in terms of taking that action, and what made you maybe take what made you throw your hat over the fence?
Well, I think for me, the scariest part wasn't so much the agreement; it was the checks. I was like, I don't remember how to sign a check because who uses checks for anything except for this?
And they were big checks.
They were big checks. And it was like, it took me so long to earn that money, to actually have the amount of money to write checks for that. And it was like, I don't know if I want to give it away. I just got it.
Yeah.
But I got to say that almost fear of missing out, that kind of like me watching hundreds of you guys.
Hashtag FOMO?
FOMO. I'm the worst with FOMO because like I saw what all of you guys were doing. And I was working with people who were younger than me doing it. And that kind of pissed me off. Like I was like,
There's a lot of people that are a lot older than you and they're doing the
but
first time.
The people who are older who are doing it, all they ever tell me is I wish I did it
Remorse.
sooner. I just wish I did it sooner. And they were like, Laura, you need to do this now. You need to do this now. And I was like, what am I going to regret more? Having done it or having not done it? And I had determined that all I'd ever heard from anybody is that they regretted not doing it.
Agreed.
So my whole thing was like, I want to be able to say, I'm glad I did it. And I just did it. And I signed those checks and went, like you have to at some point take a leap of faith. And luckily, everything worked out because I had these guys. They picked the unit with me. I do this for other people. And you guys were like, this is the unit you're going to get.
Did we get you the best unit in the building? Yes or no?
Sure did.
Well, it's 67.
Right,
hey, buddy, it's $67,000 more than when she bought it. 72, like right around that range right now.
We did well.
Because links we saw with the other 22 or 21 people, I think. I can't remember exactly.
Project,
September 2019, right? It was, right? September
was
2019.
September 2019.
Yeah, links. Maine and Danforth. So
you really wanted me to get that one because it's in Greektown.
I really wanted to get that one because we got that at Family and Friends.
Yeah.
My friends.
Yeah.
We know at least 6 people who have the exact identical unit in the stack.
Yeah.
And it was the best unit in the building. A lot of our insiders got that.
And that's what happens when you get in first access.
Shout out to our friends at Graybrook who gave us friends and family pricing at a private real estate event.
Yep.
Which means they honored and paid us as brokers.
Yes.
And they honored a price only seen at a friends and family event inside our for our insiders. That was huge. Peter, Sasha, we appreciate you. Our clients appreciate you.
And the team at Tribute as well. I'm signing off.
I'm gonna take this bottle.
We're Simos. We'll let Elto sign off at the end. You go next, brother.
I have nothing but love. As always, I send everybody love and a beautiful weekend and a safe week ahead. Be strong. Do what you are always meant to do. Take a leap. Take a step. Whether it's buying real estate, a new job, do your thing. I want every one of you to know how much it means to us that you spent the hour with us. And again, thank you for all your action, all your feedback, and every day you help us grow.
I'm just thankful for you guys for tuning in and always forcing us to be better. Like the feedback really does help. So the emails we get sent, the text messages where you're like, guys, this needs to get done. This needs to be done. Like what we've done since I've been here for 7 years, we've changed a lot. And that's all because of the feedback. So we definitely appreciate that. And to you guys, I just want to thank you for having me and keep that you're doing this. This is so much fun. I want to be on.
Look, all kidding aside, I mean, you haven't maybe been on a full brunch before, but this 80% of the reason we're doing it was because of that MBA that you mentioned at the start. We took all that branding, the MBA in branding and marketing. We took that out of your head and we started to implement what you knew. It's just what Simos and I have always done. We try to bring people that are smarter than us in the room. You're the brains behind my beauty and Simos's beauty. We'll give you that to the rest of you guys. We love you. Have a great weekend.